What's up guys? So I picked up my new ZX6R 636 just yesterday and wow, this bike is absolutely insane. In this video, I'm just going to be showing you around the bike and talking about why I decided to go for a ZX6R. And when I say new bike, by the way, obviously the bike isn't brand new. This is a 2012 ZX6R, but it is new to me, so that's why I'm calling it a new bike. But man, this bike just looks so sick. Let me know down below in the comment section what you guys think of the black and white fairings on the bike. The reason this bike stood out to me so much was for those black and white fairings. I think it looks absolutely crazy in this color scheme. I know there's a lot of green ZX6Rs going around, and I think the green is like the hero color for the ZX6R, but in my opinion, I'm just not a fan of the green. I think this black and white color scheme goes crazy, but yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. Of course, this bike is a 2012 model, so one bad thing about it is that it doesn't have ABS, so I got to be careful. I just got to make sure I don't slam on the brakes or anything like that. So as long as I don't slam on the brakes and I just apply the brakes slowly, I should be pretty chill. But yeah, that is one thing to note. I don't have ABS on the bike. Of course, guys, I did install a coil lock wireless charger here as well to charge my phone. Now, guys, one big thing about the ZX6R that took me by surprise is there's actually no fuel gauge on the bike. That is right, guys. I didn't know this until I bought it, but there is no fuel gauge on the ZX6R. Now, I'm coming from a Yamaha R7, so that was a bit of a shock for me. I was like, well, how do I tell how much fuel is left in my bike? Because apparently, to figure out how much fuel you have left, you literally just have to open the fuel tank and give it a shake, maybe give it a sniff. I might be doing that, guys. I definitely will be giving it a sniff. And that's how you figure out how much fuel is left in the bike. And that was a bit of a shock for me because I was like, wow, I didn't know it didn't have a fuel gauge. But yeah, that is one thing to note about the ZX6R. There is no fuel gauge, which is honestly kind of crazy when you think about it. So right now, the way I'm basically figuring out how much fuel I have left, a bunch of people have told me that they can get around 200 kilometers a tank. So every time I just reset the trip odometer before I start. And yeah, once it gets to 200 kilometers, I know I need to fill up. So yeah, that is how I'm doing it right now. But yeah, that is one thing to note about the ZX6R is that there is actually no fuel gauge, which took me by surprise. Of course, I've got the Acura pipe on the bike and man, this thing sounds crazy. We'll do a quick little sound test of the exhaust right now. I think I've got it in neutral, so yeah, we'll do a quick sound test. Let's go right now. Yeah, I'm sure you guys heard that. It does sound pretty crazy. And one thing I love about the bike is just it screams when you're going down the highway. I'm coming from a Yamaha R7, so the Yamaha R7 does have a nice sound to it, but it doesn't scream like this bike does. I just love when I fly down the highway and it just screams. It sounds so crazy and I honestly can't get enough of it. It is so much fun to ride. Now, of course, this is actually my first 4-cylinder motorcycle. I also have a Yamaha R7 and an MT-07 back at home, and I've ridden a couple of other like lower CC 2-cylinder sport bikes like a CBR 500, Ninja 400, that type of thing. But this is my first 4-cylinder bike and man, I wish I went to a 600cc way sooner than I did. Of course, this bike is actually 636cc, but of course, you guys know what I mean. I wish I went to a 600cc like an R6 or a ZX6R way sooner than I did because this bike is just so much fun to ride. One thing I do notice about it is that it has a little less torque than my R7. So if I'm comparing it directly to my R7, the R7 has a lot more torque, low range. So if I put this bike into a head-to-head race, I think the R7 would just get ahead just as they take off. But then, bro, the ZX6R is just gonna go crazy after that, and the R7 stands no chance. I like actually being able to gap people and being fast on the road compared to the R7, because with the R7, now jumping to this, I can realize how slow the R7 actually is after you hit about like 100 kilometers an hour. After like 100 kilometers an hour on the R7, it is just way too slow, and you've really got nothing to work with. But with this bike, if you're on the highway, you pull that throttle back and this thing just goes. It is absolutely insane and I'm in love, dude. It is so much fun to ride and I can't get over it. Another big thing I noticed is that the lean on this bike and the leaning and riding position is crazy. You are fully leaned over when you're riding this bike. Of course, with the R7, a lot of people say that it has a pretty aggressive riding style, but it doesn't compare to this bike. I am fully hunched and leaned over, and my arms have actually been hurting. It takes a bit to get used to. My arms are still hurting after I go for a ride, but of course, I will get used to it as I ride more. But yeah, that is one thing to note about this bike, is that you are so leaned over when you're riding, which is of course because it's meant to be a race bike, and that's the position for racing. But yeah, that is one thing to note. You are literally fully leaned over when you're riding, and it just does take a bit to get used to. Of course, guys, on the bike, there's a bunch of extras done. I've got these tank grips here, which is pretty cool. They help as well. Of course, we've got the custom bars here, custom shifter, and brake thing there as well, which is pretty crazy. And man, for a 2012 bike, this thing goes so hard. It's so much fun to ride. Of course, I just gave it a quick wash before filming this video, but man, this bike is so much fun, and it's definitely a big upgrade coming from a Yamaha R7. Of course, I've got those crash knobs there as well, just in case I do crash, so the bike doesn't get too damaged. But man, this thing is just a blast to ride. Now guys, as I was saying, I have a Yamaha MT-07 and an R7 at home as well, so let me know down below in the comment section what type of comparison videos, because I can do a bunch of comparisons between this bike and the R7 or the MT-07. Now also, one thing I wanted to note about this bike is that I honestly think it's a better beginner bike than the Yamaha R7. I know a lot of people see the R7 as a good learner bike, and I fully agree. The R7 is a great bike if you're just getting into riding and you want to learn, because it's a very forgiving bike, and it's great to learn and practice on. But I honestly think, dude, that you're better off just starting on a 600cc 4-cylinder if you're learning to ride, and then you can upgrade to a leader bike later on, because man, you're going to get bored of the R7 pretty quick. But with these 600s, you are not going to get bored anytime soon. You've got all that highway speed, and it's great just around town as well. It's honestly so much fun to ride. So if you're a learner out there and you're considering like, what bike should I buy? Should I go for like a ZX6R, an R6, an R7, an R3? Honestly, man, as long as you're confident with like the basics of riding, like as long as you got the basics down on like a smaller bike, don't even worry about the R7, bro. Just get a ZX6R or even an R6, honestly, man. An R6 is pretty crazy as well, but yeah. This bike is just so much fun to ride. I can't believe I finally have one. It's been like my dream bike for a minute now, and the next thing I want to get is an R1. So hopefully within the next few months, I can trade my R7 in for an R1. So we'll have the ZX6R and an R1. That would be pretty cool. But if there's any videos you guys want to see with this bike, let me know down below in the comment section, because I would honestly love to make just a bunch of videos comparing this to the R7 and MT-07. So yeah, let me know down below.